in the marmocreb's potential to help with that old and thorny question of the balance of forces between nature and nurture, as researchers realized they had stumbled on an ideal experimental subject. Ordinarily, it's hard to tease apart why things turn out the way they do. If you fall ill with heart disease, there is a tangle of potential causes, genetic and environmental. The fault could be inherited, dietary, linked to exercise, too little, too much, stress, some combination, and so on. By holding constant the role of genes, clones make it easier to tease out other influences. Whatever happens to them, one compared with another, pure difference of genes will not be the explanation. These cloned crayfish were a research godsend. So it was that one day in Germany, researchers chose 2 founder females to be the great mothers of 2 laboratory lineages, naming them A and B. Such are the names of legends when you're a crayfish. They popped A's and B's offspring into tanks of water to see what happened. Each of the 2 lineages was genetically identical, naturally. This was not merely assumed, they were checked for genetic consistency. But the research went further. The marmocrebs were also all hatched and raised in exactly the same lab-controlled environment. Now, every influence on their development was as consistent as possible. They were fed the same food, tetra wafer mix, since you ask, checked regularly for disease, and reared in simplified tanks containing room-temperature tap water. It was even arranged for the same person to examine them on every occasion. The aim, as far as humanly possible, was to eliminate every variation that anyone could think of. They were born into the most boring uniformity humans could contrive. What were they like, these clones, in an identical environment? Take a moment. Hazard a guess. About the same? Maybe exactly the same. After all, we know everything we know to be knowable about these crayfish, and what we know is the same for each and every one of them. Both genes and environment, the 2 great forces in life, 2 titans of human understanding between which there is a perpetual war of explanatory power, are identical for all. A photograph shows a group of laboratory-bred marmocrebs from the same batch of eggs. It appeared in a research paper written by members of the German lab, published in 2008, and it's one of the great pin-ups of genetics, or should be. In the photograph, the marmocrebs are very far from the same. Among identical batch mates in the same conditions, one crayfish grew to be 20 times the weight of another. The visible differences are stunning, and size is only the first. Every single marmocrebs of several hundred studied had a unique pattern of marbled markings. There were visible physical differences in their sensory organs, differences in internal organs, differences too in how they moved and rested. Some sat under shelter, others lay on their backs. Another big variation was lifespan, which ranged from 437 to 910 days. The onset of reproduction differed hugely too, as did the quantity of eggs and number of batches. While laying, some fed, others didn't. Some marmocrebs molted in the morning, others at night. There were more differences in how they socialized. Brought together in one tank, they soon fell into hierarchies, some submissive, some dominant. Some were solitary, others liked a crowd. They were physically different and behaviorally different. They were genetically identical in a world where everything was, as far as possible, identical, and they were chalk and cheese. When the same is not the same. From expectation to outcome is such a non sequitur, it's as if whitewash came out striped. But if this difference out of sameness is the first shock, 2 other thoughts follow. The first is that whatever we thought we knew about genes and environment suddenly becomes, can it be true, in need of serious revision.